into makeup, I guess, pretty late, like later than most of my friends did. I was in my early 20s when I got into makeup. So mostly it's just been like finding what I like and figuring out what works for me.
For me, it started when I was really young. I grew up dancing and doing gymnastics, so from a young age I was wearing makeup and having to do like a full face of craziness all the time. And so actually I went through a period of time where I didn't really like makeup because I did it so much as a kid. But then when I properly got into makeup, it was my senior year and the year after I got out of high school.
I think I've always liked makeup. I've always had such an interest in it that definitely didn't come from my mom. She had no idea about anything, and I actually ended up teaching her later in life. I always had those little fakey makeup play kits and stuff. As I got older, I actually had a really interesting experience of being scouted by a modeling agency when I was 11 and being taught professional makeup from that angle of how to present oneself as a lady and that kind of thing. And it was very like gender policey and just an odd way to start out a makeup life.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a process to own that and come back from that and not feel like, you know, I had to do like this red lip, nude nail, super prim and proper sort of thing that was catered to, you know, one style of woman sort of thing.
I was always kind of interested in makeup, but I wasn't really allowed to wear makeup until I was like 17, and by then, like, well, it's too late now, like why even bother? Everyone already knows what I look like. So it wasn't so much disinterest in makeup, it was a lack of access, really. And then I don't know, it wasn't really something that I thought about until I started like watching beauty bloggers.
My mom, yeah, she definitely was the one that really got me into makeup. She was the one that, when I first kind of started showing an interest, was like, okay, well, let's go and play. Let's go and, you know, she would play makeup on me and she would put stuff on me herself just for fun to take pictures. And then when I started getting into it, she was the one that was, you know, taking me to drugstores and helping pick makeup out or whatever, like gave me pointers on tricks and stuff that I still use today that I know solely come from her.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Did you ever, I don't know, find like any negative elements to that, or?
A little bit, I guess. It was more just kind of finding the makeup looks and the way that I wanted to do makeup that was my own and not really from her. Because there's stuff that products that she would use or things that would look good on her because she's a different skin tone than me, and stuff that I just like wouldn't do or wouldn't wear. So that was really kind of the only negative, but that's kind of sort of weeded itself out as I've like, you know, been in it more and like kind of played around and found stuff that I've liked and products that I want to use.
I guess as I got older, you know, with the internet and just seeing that there was a lot more creativity and flexibility available, and also just figuring out what I thought looked good on me, because even though I am a privileged white girl and those things are very much catered towards somebody like me, there was still just like, you know, most foundations are pink toned and I'm not pink toned, and figuring out that like that's why I look dead when I put on foundation and, you know, solving that and understanding that like I like black fingernails and that's okay and whatever else. But it was definitely like a rougher transition, I would say, because I had such an interesting start that was very, you know, atypical, I guess.
I think it's about realizing that, you know, makeup, like everything else in feminism, is about choice. Like, I don't feel like I have to wear makeup anymore, so I enjoy it a lot more. And it's just like having the choice, you know, today I'm not gonna wear makeup, or today I'm gonna wear all of the makeup that I own. It's just like being able to choose that for myself instead of choosing it for someone else or like, you know, for other people's like gaze. It's like, I feel like that, like most things in feminism, is just about doing it for yourself instead of for someone else. I think a lot of things that I've noticed in beauty bloggers and stuff is a class thing. Like Zoella especially, you know, she was the first one I watched and she was pretty young when she started doing makeup, but she always had this like high-end stuff. And so at first like, oh, I can't do that because I can't afford all this like fancy makeup. But like realizing that you don't have to have, you know, the Urban Decay or the YSL like makeup to be able to create these looks that you like. I think that's been a big thing. I've noticed younger beauty bloggers like coming into the scene, and they all have high-end makeup. It's like they all skipped like the e.l.f. stage and went right to like Urban Decay, and it's really interesting seeing like how kind of class can play into makeup as well.
Yeah, I was just seeing so much of these girls in movies and in TV shows that the character and that archetype was pretty and popular and wore makeup every day and really cared about fashion and how they looked, and they were always really mean and really rude to other people and really disrespectful and just really not something that I wanted to become or be myself, and I didn't think that I was that way, and I'm pretty sure that I'm not. And so I just had always connected those two things in my head, and so I kind of tried to stay as far away from that whole world as I possibly could, because I thought that that's kind of what would follow, was that kind of behavior, and I didn't want to do that. And so it's been a struggle where there are some days where I don't want to care about how I look, but I do, and the way that our media works is you end up caring about how you look. Like that's just the way that it goes, and it can take it's a process to kind of get away from that a little bit. And so there are days where I get up early or than normal, and I'm like, oh hey, I have extra time today, I can spend more time on this and it'll be fun. Then there are other days where I'm literally just like, okay, gotta go out the door, don't care today, or I care like a little bit and I'll do like a little bit, but it's hard finding that feminist balance, because depending on who you ask on how they define feminism, they're going to say that I'm doing it wrong. That emulating those feminine ideals is not being a feminist. That to be a feminist, you have to not shave and wear no makeup and like chop all your hair off, and like that is a way to do feminism for sure, but it's just not the only way. There are other ways to do it. As long as you're coming to it with a choice, I think it still can be feminism when you're doing it because you want to, and it's your own decision, and you recognize all the societal and media pressures that are coming into play, and you make the genuine decision to do it yourself and not make it feel like something you have to do, but it's something that you want to do. And I think that's the difference. Another thing that I found that's been really interesting for me with makeup in beauty is the fact that I'm mixed race. My mom is Caucasian, my dad is African American, so my skin tone is something that's really hard to find in foundations and in makeup, because a lot of makeup companies seem to think that the darker your skin gets, the more orange you are, and that's definitely not always the case, and is more often than not the case. So I'm not quite sure where they pulled that from. I understand the, darker, it's warmer, okay, that's how that works, but it's not actually how that works. And so it's really, really hard for me to find foundation that does what I want it to do and is also in my skin tone and doesn't make me look either super white or like tan from here to here, and then I'm like suddenly a different color in the rest of my body. So it's been really hard for me it's been like a kind of a winning losing battle of finding makeup and foundations that have the coverage that I want for acne scars or for pigmentation, or to hide how tired I am that day or whatever, but is also doesn't have an orange undertone and is more neutral, because I have a more neutral undertone in skin. And so it's been a process of like testing foundations, finding the darkest light shade before it immediately changes to start being orange, and then just like bronzing the crap out of my face to make it look like it actually matches, or to like add darker foundation drops or something to try to start to get to a better place that isn't orange. And so that's been really hard for me, and that's something my mom actually also struggles with, because my mom is really, really pale, and so a lot of times even the lightest shade in a foundation range is actually still like has like a yellow undertone, and she's also very neutral, and so it looks orange on her because she's so pale and so white, and so she ends up having to do the opposite thing where she has to add whitening drops to her foundations to get it to be lighter, and I have to add darkening drops. So it's something that her and I have both really struggled with, that I think is, like I said, it's getting better, but hopefully it gets better quicker and there's actually more of a push to have larger shade ranges that are in varying, cool or warm tone families or more neutral families, instead of it just being really, really light and cool and really, really dark and orange. I think, at least from what I've experienced and what I've seen, there is obviously a very, like, the basis of makeup in the beauty industry came from a very European, a white European, like, lens. And so that's the people that were doing the modeling and then the photo shoots. And so that's really all they had to think about. And now that people of color are coming out and, like, in, you know, becoming models and being brand ambassadors for different things, they're like, oh crap, we have to start kind of, oh right, there are other people in the world that are potentially going to be wearing our products. We have to kind of work towards that. But I think there's also, in some ways, and again, there could be companies out there that are doing this great that I've just not heard of, but it seems to me that while, like I said, it's getting better and the models are becoming more diverse, it's still very much like white models or properly African American models, or like properly insert ethnicity and race type of models. Those of us that are a multitude, which in reality is everybody, but those of us that are honest, like that are biracial, or, you know, are white and black, or white and Chinese, or white and whatever, or whatever combination, and that changes the way that our skin looks, we're kind of, I feel like, being forgotten about a little bit, because there's no one's out there doing stuff that looks like us necessarily. And especially in high-end makeup and high-end beauty, it's like the look, have an all African-American, properly African-American model cast that is walking on a runway or something, or to have that look that they want. And so if you don't look like either fully like either one of those people, when you're kind of in the middle, it's kind of a gray area where I live. And so they don't have to think about, oh yeah, no, we're being diverse, we have foundation in really, really dark skin tone ranges. And it's like, okay, but what if you're in the middle? What if you're between those two polarities? Like, what about? So I think that is kind of definitely a huge element of it, where they just, it's not necessarily, and I mean it might be, but it's not necessarily conscious, like we don't want people of color to, you know, wear our makeup or buy our products or whatever. It's just, they don't have to think about it. They don't have to think about potential other people wearing their makeup. So, I don't know, I think it's something that is slowly getting better, but not in all the ways that it should. The diversity isn't happening like completely outwardly. It's very much like this, instead of it being like a full kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Although it is hard and it does at first seem kind of counterintuitive to be, you know, spending money and following these makeup tips that are, you know, their foundations are very patriarchal, I think it's definitely a matter of owning it and not internalizing it, even though that's hard to do, and recognizing that it's empowering to be able to present yourself as the woman or whatever you identify as that you want to be, and taking that as a part of your identity that you own. So that's kind of how I perceive it, is you're showing who you are and who you want to be. I would say that ecofeminism is the ways that women in nature are exploited in a very similar manner. They're both viewed as something that's for the taking, that can be harvested and turned into something for somebody else's benefit, particularly men, white men. And so there's a lot of philosophy and meaning behind that. And makeup is a huge perpetrator of things that are absolutely the opposite of ecofeminism, ranging from you know, products that are pitched for benefiting breast cancer foundations that have chemicals that cause breast cancer, to animal testing, or things that put toxic chemicals into the environment, or that are used with, you know, aerosol cans, and etc., etc. But I definitely think that we're pushing back against that as a society, and we're headed in the right direction. For example, companies like Lime Crime that are vegan and cruelty-free, like this lipstick that I'm wearing, I'm really excited about it. And, you know, just even larger products like Too Faced that, you know, they don't use animal testing or whatever else. So it's getting better. And just diversity in makeup, you know, having CoverGirl put a man on CoverGirl, that was groundbreaking. And I think that's an aspect of ecofeminism and feminism as well.